Once upon a time in ancient Greece, there was a beautiful woman named Althea. She was the daughter of the king of a faraway land, and her beauty was so renowned that it reached the ears of Zeus himself. Zeus was the king of the gods, and he had a bit of a reputation for, shall we say, appreciating the finer things in life. Like beautiful women. And Althea was definitely a fine specimen. Now, Zeus wasn't the only one who had taken notice of Althea. No, sir. The great god Poseidon had also set his eyes on her, and he was pretty persistent, sending her flowers and gifts and trying to woo her with promises of power and glory. But Althea wasn't interested in either Poseidon or any of the other gods, with the possible exception of Zeus. She had heard tales of his legendary prowess, and she wasn't opposed to the idea of having a taste of that herself. Unfortunately for Zeus, though, he wasn't the only mortal man that Althea had set her sights on. You see, there was another suitor who had caught her eye, a handsome young artist named Apollo. Now, Apollo wasn't just any artist. He was the son of Zeus himself, though. Technically, he was the son of a Titaness, but Zeus had scooped him up and raised him as his own when he was just a babe. So, you could say that Apollo was kind of like Zeus's kid. And here's where the story takes a turn. See, Apollo had been hanging out with some friends of his, just a couple of satyrs, the usual, when he laid eyes on Althea. And let's just say that he was smitten. Now, normally, Apollo was a pretty easygoing guy. He wasn't above, sharing the love with a fellow god or two. But in this case, he had no intention of letting Zeus have his prize. So, what does Apollo do? He goes straight to Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, and asks her to help him out. Now, Athena wasn't usually involved in the romantic squabbles of mortals, but she took a liking to Althea and didn't want to see her wasted on some goat herder, even if that goat herder was the king of the gods. So she agreed to help Apollo. She devised a plan, and oh, was it a good one. The next time Zeus came to Earth in his, god form, disguised as a handsome mortal man, Athena went to him and said, "Hey Zeus, why don't you and Apollo go head-to-head in a contest of, artistic ability?" Now, Zeus wasn't much of an artist, but he was definitely competitive. So he agreed to the challenge. Athena then led them both to a nearby tree and told them that whoever could make the most beautiful lyre would win. Now, if you're not familiar with the lyre, it's basically an ancient Greek instrument kind of like a harp. Anyway, Zeus went first, and he put his godly powers into the task, creating a lyre of pure gold that was exquisitely beautiful. I mean, it was a lyre made by a god. What could Apollo possibly do to top that? Well, Apollo took his turn, and he created a lyre that was not only more beautiful than Zeus's, but also had a magical quality to its music. It could make anyone who heard it fall madly in love. Zeus was impressed, but he was also a little salty. I mean, he was a god being bested by his own son. Not cool. But you know what? He was a god of pretty high caliber, and he had a really big ego. So instead of just accepting defeat gracefully, he did what any reasonable god would do. He called down a bolt of lightning and vaporized Apollo's lyre. Apollo was pretty bummed about that, but Athena stepped in and saved the day by turning Apollo's 7 best friends into beautiful maidens. So everyone was happy. Well, except for Zeus, because now he had to deal with 7 angry maidens who were all vying for Apollo's attention. But that's not really relevant to the story. The point is, Althea got her guy, and that's always the happy ending we're looking for, right?